All right. So, welcome to Bhanu Joy Harrison. We're really happy to have you here today. I learned about Bhanu through actually one of our other lunchtime mindfulness facilitators, Madeline, had recommended Bhanu through the UCLA mindfulness community. And I got to see Bhanu through one of our hybrid retreats with Diana Winston, sort of noticing the way that Diana really valued Banu's contributions around trauma-informed mindfulness. And I really loved the way that, yeah, loved her offerings around trauma-informed. She's also a clinical social worker in addition to being a mindfulness teacher, and is very interested in neuroscience and balancing that with joy and yeah, somatic approach. Banu also offers a lot of classes and meditations, etc., through Insight Timer. So she'll tell you more about that in a bit. And in the meantime, I'll pass it over to you. Thanks for being here, Banu.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Andy. So, welcome to all of you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. And how I want to do this hour is we'll just have a little settling practice of maybe 5 minutes, just so we can all arrive, not just with our bodies, but with our hearts and our minds. And then I'm going to be talking about how to live in such an unpredictable world, and how we can find some steadiness and equanimity and grounding for that. And that will, so I'll give a little information about our nervous system, and then we'll do a longer practice and then have just a little bit of time for comments or questions. And you're always welcome to put a message in on the chat. And I think we can begin. So come into a posture where you can arrive. Let your body move or settle in any way where you can feel a little bit more comfortable. And just for curiosity's sake, just do a little check-in. And if your body had a speedometer dial, how fast are you going right now? I know we've all had a morning of life experience, and what's your internal speed? And just see what number pops up. It could be 70, it could be 20, just whatever. There's no judgment on it, but just sort of noticing, this is how I'm cruising right now in my body mind. And then if you like to use an anchor of attention to gather all the parts of yourself to the present moment, you're welcome to notice the sensations of the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. Or if the breath isn't the most comfortable, you can use any sensation, any sensory pathway. You might notice ambient sound, my voice in your environment, or the contact, the touch contact of your body in your chair, your seat. Or temperature, fragrance, or perhaps having your eyes open, noticing color or image for some people works well. And notice what begins to happen as we all settle together, as we use our sensation anchor to come into this present moment. Our body is always in present time. And when we can turn our attention to a present moment sensation, we land with our body in the present moment. And so our bodies can be a beautiful doorway into presence. And then as we finish up our arriving practice, just take note again of your internal speed and sensing if it's the same or different. There's no right way, but just sort of being curious. So, welcome back. Thank you for arriving with me today. So, I'm sure we've all noticed that our world is pretty unpredictable and chaotic right now. And how do we keep our equanimity? How do we sustain ourselves? And for me, so much deep understanding of my experience has come through understanding my own physiology and my own nervous system. So I started my career a long time ago in the 80s being a body worker. And I did that for 11 years and taught at a massage school for decades and then transitioned into social work. And I brought the body with me into social work because we live our lives through these bodies, and the body has a story to tell, its own story, and it can give us such valuable information. And, if you're feeling a little less grounded these days, that would be very normal because our brains and our nervous systems love predictability. We want to know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and we feel safer when we can predict what's going to happen. And so right now we're in a time where there's new information, new experiences, new events that are all being thrown out a lot, too much, all the time, everywhere, all at once. And it's a lot for our nervous system to metabolize. And so there can be a sense of feeling ungrounded, or, we might find ourselves a little more irritable or a little more shut down, or, just not quite ourselves, in a bit of a fog or overthinking. And that is normal, right? When we have too much, too fast, too much of the time. And for many people, they don't have enough of connection, support, resources, nurturance, etc. So we evolved, for our safety and our survival to be able to predict what's going to happen in our environment, what's going to happen every day. And our sensory, bodily awareness is our brain's best guess at what's happening
Where?
in the world around us.
Hey, can you have an extra pair of gloves for me? Well,
I think somebody's got their, yeah, thank you. And so our bodies remember these past sensory experiences. And sorry, I'm not sure. Andy's taking care of the breakthrough um, sound here. Again, more unpredictability, right? This is our world today. Um, so our body remembers these sensory experiences, and it makes predictions, based on the past. It makes predictions of what's going to happen today, and then what's going to happen, tomorrow and down the road. And so, how our body is feeling now is going to be influencing what we feel and what we predict in the days and weeks ahead. And so, this really points to the power of a mindfulness practice because we may feel kind of helpless about there's really not much I can do about the world. I can do my little, you know, um, online mouse warrior petitions or whatever. But, what we can do is do our practice because that gives our bodies and our nervous system direct messaging about our present moment experience, which will then move through into the future and help us predict into the future. So if we can gain some steadiness and balance in this moment in our practice, our body remembers that too, right? And it can have that as a resource. And it's challenging because I'm sure if you're experienced at all in mindfulness, you've heard of the negativity bias of how we are wired to pay more attention to what's wrong, what could be dangerous, any threats in the environment or within or without. And so we have to put a little extra effort into noticing the good, noticing when we are safe enough, noticing, some of the joys and the awe and the wonder of being human at this time. And so I don't know who said this, but I wrote it down during some podcast about we need to be islands of coherence in a sea of chaos, right? And when we can have more coherence within ourselves, we then can help support other people just by our very beingness. If we're grounded, if we're present, then at the store or in the Uber or wherever we interact with people, we can be a grounding rod for them of like, oh, okay, this person seems steady and balanced, so that's a good thing. So it's a powerful practice. The challenge, in these times is when there is a lot of unpredictability, and if we don't have a nice big toolbox with lots of skills and resources to keep ourselves balanced, we can end up defaulting to, doing things that are not necessarily in our best interests, scrolling or being on too many screens or overthinking events that are happening in the world. And so these times are requiring some extra awareness and attunement with ourselves in the moment of what is it that I need right now? What does my nervous system need? What does my heart need right now? What does my mind need? Right? Can I feed my mind something inspirational versus the news feed? Right? Because that changes our experience. The other thing that I found incredibly helpful for myself is discerning what I can control and what I can't control. Right? And so there's certain things that are just not in my capacity to control. Things like the weather or traffic or events happening out in the world. I have no control over that. I can't control how someone thinks or feels or acts. I can't make them do something, right? And so that's out of my wheelhouse of capacity to have an effect on. But what I can choose to be empowered with, right, is I can choose where to put my attention. I can choose my own actions. And I have autonomy over my choices, right? So I can choose to drink lots of caffeine or not because maybe I won't sleep so well, right? Or I can choose, to move instead of just sitting looking at the computer. I can choose my own words and my tone of voice when I interact with people. I can choose how I treat others. I can have a choice about how I choose to respond to situations, right? And this goes to that, the skill, the benefit of mindfulness is being able to respond instead of react, to have that moment built in of that pause before responding. So that is in my capacity to grow, to choose, to do that. So it's actually quite empowering, right? If I realize that I have choice over where I put my attention, that I'm not at the mercy of all this other stuff, that can help me be that island of coherence, right? And my image of my island of coherence is that I have I'm a big port and lots of boats can come in and dock in my harbor, right? When I can be that island of coherence. So discerning that is very powerful. The other, principle that and that is of impermanence. Things are always changing. Things are never the same. And in some ways, that has been a solace for me of these times won't always be the same. They may seem to last for a really long time, but it's not always going to be this way, which is what our brain and mind want to think of. It's never going to change. And, my mother, who is now 103, lived through World War II in Germany, and things were pretty bleak. And I remember her saying, her nature was a very powerful resource for her. And she remarked once, she said, no matter how bad things got, every spring the flowers would grow and the trees would get leafed out, even if their other trees were bombed out, but the life would spring back. And she said, and that always gave me so much hope. And I thought, if she can do this in the middle of war that lasted for years, it's like in her early 20s, like that's a really good skill, right? So what she was doing was she was consciously taking in a cue of safety and positivity and energy. And Stephen Porges, who is a developer of polyvagal theory, says that to increase our felt experience of safety, we have to give ourselves a daily diet of safety cues, sensations from the environment. Like I have beautiful zinnias outside and the colors just make me so happy. That's a safety cue for me. It could be a smile of someone. It could be the warmth of the sun. It could be, there's so many sensory cues that we have that can tell our nervous system that in this moment, we're safe enough. And we sometimes have internal body cues of relaxation, of deeper breath, of good interaction and connection with others that also tell us that we're safe enough. So let's do a practice together on working with unpredictability and bringing in some cues of solidity and stability so that we can grow our island of coherence. So first, as we start this practice, I'd like you to orient to your own environment. So look around your space that you may be very familiar to you, but just see if anything of beauty or something you maybe hadn't noticed before is brought to your attention. Taking in the ambient sounds in your room. And we're turning our attention to noticing some cues of awe or color or a sound sound that's pleasing. I'm seeing my prayer flags out my window moving gently in the wind. And then you can have eyes open or closed, but turning your attention inward and letting your body really sink into the support beneath you. So often we're still braced when we're sitting upright. And really kind of surrender, trust that your cushion or chair will support you fully. Trust in this gravity of earth that is holding us close. And as you sink and settle into your seat, notice what begins to happen in your body. Perhaps you notice a slightly different breath pattern. Maybe there's a sigh or a yawn. Or maybe your shoulders drop just a bit. Or maybe your belly softens. And sometimes, with so much unpredictability around us, we can feel a little uncontained at times. And so there's some touch practices that can be very powerful. And so one is the butterfly hug, just placing your right hand on your left shoulder and your left hand on your right, and just feeling your edges. Certainly, this is optional. If you don't want to do it, it's totally okay. You can also kind of feel down or squeeze your arms. You can squeeze your thighs if your body can do that. When we can feel our edges, it creates a sense of containment, kind of like swaddling. Many infants will settle when they are swaddled because they feel contained, they feel held. And for some people, touch or a weighted blanket or a shawl can help that feeling of, okay, I'm being held, I'm being swaddled. And then we're going to turn our attention towards what is very predictable in our bodies, and that is our breath. You can also choose another felt sensation if the breath is challenging for you. Feeling your feet on the floor or your back up against your support or your seat. But just tune into the predictability of your body doing its body thing. Your body is breathing you day and night for years and decades. It's been breathing you and softening into the reliability of your breath. No matter what is happening around you. You can rely on your body's deep intention to help you stay regulated. Your body is doing so many processes out of our conscious awareness of temperature regulation, digestion, elimination, all so many neurological and endocrine and chemical and immune functions Our body always strives for homeostasis on a very detailed cellular level to our emotions and thoughts. Our body's always intending to balance us, to protect us. Thank you, body, for still being here. Even if you have health struggles or body challenges, your body still is working all the time to keep you in homeostasis and balance to the best of its ability. You can sense into some gratitude for your body. Thanking it for its deep, organic intelligence that can heal wounds and digest food and help you sleep. Then, as we continue to build our awareness of grounding and predictability, bring to mind other things that happen with regularity. The sun rises each day, reaches its zenith, and then sets. If you have an animal in your home, no matter how long you've been gone, the animal most often is just overjoyed to see you. It's pretty predictable. As we move through our yearly cycle, the light is changing in a predictable way. Days are getting shorter. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're in springtime. Just open your awareness to letting images of predictability in your daily life rise to your awareness. Maybe your neighbor always walks their dog at a certain time. And as you let these experiences come into your consciousness, notice what's happening in your body. Does it feel comforting that there's snippets of predictability in your day? Is it comforting to know that your body will breathe you? And even if you have a little bit of a sensation of a little more stability or a little more grounding, be curious about that. Where in your body do you feel this bit of stabilization? Perhaps it's in your feet, where you feel connected to gravity and the earth holding you here. Perhaps in your belly, where you feel a little more grounded and settled. Maybe your abdomen is softer and really being supported by your pelvis. And notice if there's any shift in your heart and your emotional body. Perhaps a little settling, or perhaps feeling an empowerment that comes through taking action or you smiling or whatever you choose to do in the world. It also can be grounding to just acknowledge what we are feeling. Ah, there's grief. Ah, there's some wonder. Ah, but there's sadness. Ah, and frustration. And noticing if there's any effect in your mind from this grounding that we're growing in our bodies. Perhaps your thoughts are a little slower, or maybe the topic has shifted a bit. Maybe the loops don't seem quite as strong. And for some of you, this felt sense of stability may be difficult to access, and that's okay. This ability to land in the present is a skill that requires repetition. And it can be more challenging if you have a past history of ongoing instability. It can be hard to land in steadiness. And so this is a lifelong practice. And I hope you offer yourself some kindness in this process, some compassion for how you're showing up in the world right now. It's not easy. Remembering that equanimity is being with what is present right now, whether that is comfortable or uncomfortable. This is how it is. Can I be present to what's happening right now? So it's this being grounded and aware of what's happening now, as well as having our resources to bring into our experience what we need. Do I need slowing down? Or if I've been feeling really flat, do I need a little oomph? Maybe do I need to move? Do I need quiet? Do I need connection and conversation with another? What is it that my nervous system needs right now? What does my heart need right now? What would be helpful to my mind? And in these times of uncertainty, we will all be triggered at one point or another. And it's acknowledging that, and then what is it that I can do? We can't control events, but how can I respond to what's happening inside of me? This is hard. What is it that I need right now? I'll leave you with an image that may be helpful for some of you. And I don't know if when I was a kid on the playground, we had a teeter-totter, right? Which was a piece of wood and a fulcrum in the center, and the kids can be on either side, and you can go up or down. And so when we're on the ends, on the seats on the very far end of the board of the teeter-totter, we feel a lot of great swings and a lot of amplitude and ascent and descent. But if we can move toward the center, towards the fulcrum, we might find a little more balance, even though the teeter-totter is still moving. And there may be a moment when we can find our balance where the teeter-totter is still. That kind of fleeting sense of a still point. And that still point will come and go, but just knowing that the closer we are to our center, to our grounding, the easier we can weather the ups and downs of what's happening in the world. I'll close with a poem. And so you can just let the words wash over you. You don't have to effort at all. This poem is entitled What I Can Do by Rosemary Watola Traumer. So I can't save the world, can't save even myself, can't wrap my arms around every frightened child, can't foster peace among nations, can't bring love to all who feel unlovable. So I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, I will practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed all the hungry. And sometimes, daunted by a task too big, I tell myself, what's the use of trying? But today, the invitation is clear. To be ridiculously courageous in love, to open the heart like a lilac in May, knowing freeze is possible and opening anyway. To take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance. To feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open. To love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. What I Can Do by Rosemary Watola Traumer. So thank you all. I don't have a bell that you will be able to hear. So ding. So if you wish, you could, if you want to put a reflection in the chat, I will type in the poem. This is my new favorite poet. You can sign up. Oops, I put that in the wrong place. I get an email a day from her. You can sign up.
Susanna, you're welcome to just go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Bhanu, first time meditating with you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And I just wanted to reflect that, I've been coming to different meditation groups here and there, and I just wanted to hold up also the fact that I feel like we have more power than we know as humans as well, especially collectively. And I also believe I humbly disagree with the poem because I do feel that when we walk through the streets with an open heart, it encourages other peoples to open their hearts, and that does change the world.
Yeah, I mean, that is what she's decided to do, to love wildly and open.
But she says, even if this doesn't work, even if it doesn't help the world, I disagree with that. I think it always helps. It
Yeah,
it can't not. And so I
that's
just wanted to name that. That I felt some resistance come up in my body. I was like, no, we have power. We can do things, and we may
right.
not get the result we want as fast as we want it, but we are part of a collection of humanity, that is trying to move us forward. Even when we step back, we keep trying. And I really treasure these grounded moments. I like when you said, trust gravity to hold you, because we need all of those resources to keep us moving forward.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that reflection. It's never wasted. Any effort we put out into the world is never wasted. Yeah. I love some of your comments. I love the teeter-totter image and being in coherence with yourself. Yes, Victoria.
Yes, thank you so much. This is really beautiful. As Andy mentioned in the beginning, I just came out of retreat at Big Bear Retreat Center, and it was, I wrote to her, it feels like paradise lost because now I'm back in the real world. That's the longest in-person retreat I've done to date, and it felt like I thought now I know what the astronauts feel like re-entry into the
Yes.
planet.
Yeah.
So this was very, very much needed and very much appreciated. Um, and I thought I thought of the much overused and kind of almost hackneyed, but I think the original had a lot of power in it. The famous Serenity Prayer,
Mm-hmm.
because my own personal struggle has always been that wisdom to know the difference, that what can I change, what can't I change, and that discernment is such a huge piece for me, that I know that when I kind of spin out into anxiety and frustration and fatigue and sleeplessness and all those things, it's I think if I sort of pause, it's because I have tried to do something that is not within my capacity, and I haven't sort of just rested in that knowledge, I'll do what I can. And what I really love about this tradition, and you brought that out so beautifully today in this meditation and practice, is the sense that even just sitting and just resting, we are doing something to help the world, because by self-regulating, we are making a difference. And I just, I appreciate so much whenever that's reinforced by teachers, because it's, I was raised with the Puritan work ethic, and that this is navel gazing, and you're not allowed, and it's forbidden, and it's evil. And so that's still kind of haunting me, but I'm persevering on the path because I know the truth of it and I know how important that is. And so thank you for validating that and reinforcing that. It was really beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And thank you, Big Bear Retreat Center.
Yeah, yeah. And if I teach on Insight Timer, which Andy just put the links up there, my Venmo and my website, choosingmindfulness.net. And then you can also donate there if you wish to. But insighttimer.com/choosing mindfulness is my page on Insight Timer. I've taught on there for 5 years. And I usually teach live on Saturdays or Sundays. You can look specifically, but I do about a 45-minute practice on different topics, bringing in trauma-informed and somatic practices. And lately there's been, anywhere from 100 to 200 people, and we generate an amazing field of coherence that is so nourishing to me and to everyone that comes on. So you are more than welcome to join that. I also do a very impromptu, informal Thursday, 4:30 Mountain Time, just a 30-minute kind of drop in. That is a very small group. The link is on my website for that. And if I can't do it, I'll put the dates when I'm not going to do that. So there's a lot of ways to interact. And I probably have close to 25 or so meditations pre-recorded on Insight Timer.